The world of Sentara is an ancient and beautiful world with rich history spanning across the ages. The first age, the age of creation, teaches us that the Supreme Solano created the world and then divided it by the great aspects: order, chaos, nature, materium, astral, and shadow. After the creation of the aspects was the formation of a mystic force forever after known as magic, and the birth of the first sentient species, the toadkin. For 20 millennia, the toadkin thrived, reaching great heights of civilization, with magic power to rival gods themselves, capable of moving between the physical and the astral realms at will. Eventually, their way of life fell apart, and the cities fell into ruin. Those that remained were divided by faith, separated by the great aspect that they had worshipped. Civil war tore the toadkin apart, leaving only a small handful of survivors fleeing to the swamplands, bringing an end to the first age, the age of creation. The second age is known as the Draconic Age. This age is marked by the handful of the toadkin that survive in petty small kingdoms, still fighting for survival. But the rise of a new sentient species threatens their existence, the lizardkin. Divided into different clans, which are all led by a dragon priest, the lizardkin and their individual clans answered to the great dragon, Eli If the Purple. A terrible and frightening creature, better described as an eldritch horror. The great dragon would lead the lizardkin in a war against other dragons with aim to dominate them, bringing them into Eli If's dark empire. The Draconic Age would leave the land scarred, covered by draconic beings such as worms and wyverns. After achieving dominance, Eli If plunged Sentara into an age of terror and darkness, and her power would continue into the Third Age. The Third Age is forever known as the Dark Age. As the dark empire of Eli If continued to thrive, new species would rise from the chaos: Orc-kin and Goblin-king. It is still unknown if the hordes of the orcs and the riders of the goblins were created by Eli If herself, but nonetheless they quickly fell under her control. The species together would pull upon draconic magic and would wage war upon those who would dare stand against the dragon. At the very end of the Dark Age, heroes rose to face the darkness: Elfkin, Fey-born, being one with nature and feeling the imbalance that was being caused by the Dark Empire. The elves pledged to overthrow it and shone bright, bringing an end to the Dark Age. Yet the war waged on, even into the Age of Light. Eli If outmatched the forces rallied against her, and the Fey-born elves knew they could not win alone. An alliance was born between the elves, the remnants of the ancient toadkin, and dwarfkin, eager to prove themselves as they rose from their cavernous homeland deep underground. The toadkin brought magic and secrets which empowered the forces of the alliance, and the dwarves brought industrious steel. Bolstered by their allies, the pendulum began to swing in favor of the alliance, and the war was finally won when a hero rose amongst the Fey: Otrail Forgint. Otrail devised a cunning plan to lure Eli If into a trap that would bring her demise. Together with his trusted companions, Otrail fought valiantly against her. However, she proved her strength yet again. Knowing they had no chance of success, the heroes settled for sealing Eli If away in a deep underground trap. A lone survivor who became a legend. Pockets of the Dark Empire fled the surface and now inhabit the underground in search of their mistress, so far still afraid to come to the surface and face the light. The Fifth Age, the Age of the Fae, saw the alliance begin to crumble. The dwarves formed kingdoms in the mountains, returning to the underground ritually to scour and thin out the remaining races of the Dark Age: orcs, goblins, and lizardkin. The Fae themselves retreated to the lowlands and forests, forming their own republics. The toadkin still clung to their former glory in the dank swamplands. Sentara enjoyed a period of peace and salvation. Yet, under the surface, the Dark Empire continued to plot. Even in her prison, Eli If the Purple continued to rule over her faithful. and whilst the orcs and goblins squabbled, her most loyal followers begun to evolve. The lizardkin, still led by their surviving dragon priests, grew in power, in secret, ever a threat to the alliance above that was no more. Chaos once again brought order to task in the Sixth Age. The Republic of the Fae was no more. Engorged with immortality and power, a splinter group of elves in service to the aspect of shadow begun to sow the seeds of civil war, and the Fae War begun. The Dark Fae, banished to the cold Arctic regions of Sentara, plotted to overthrow the Light Fae, who remained in the woodlands. Back and forth, the elves continued to wage war against each other, leading them into ruin. As the Fae destroyed themselves from within, the forces underground began to rumble. Led by the dragon priests, orcs, goblins, and lizardkin began in earnest to encroach upon the dwarven kingdoms, knowing that their allies would pay them no heed. As Sentara continued to boil with war and turmoil, the peace-loving halflings and their taller, more adaptive cousins, the humans of the nearby Silurian Empire, finally cast their attention to the terrors on the surface realm. Yet it was too little, too late. The Fae War erupted, and the opposing magics of the light and dark Fae collided in a cataclysmic explosion. Nature versus chaos, leaving naught but abominations of twisted flora and fauna to roam in the shadows, to pick at the survivors of the once great Fae. And deep under the ground, the shackles of an ancient prison shatter. A new age has begun, and whilst war wages all around Sentara, humankind takes centre stage, and as the dust settles, we are all left to wonder, what will come next?